Thanks to massive lobbying efforts by Pizza Hut and Domino's, the legalization of marijuana has really taken off in the last 10 to 15 years. A lot of states are feeling the buzz, so to speak, and passing legalization or medical marijuana laws. So you can legally smoke, but what are the risks? And also, should you open a Pizza Hut near your local college? Stay tuned to find out. So, my brother and I opened a medical marijuana store. We keep our money in a joint account. No? Okay. No? Okay, this one I made up myself. It has a little legal twist. What's the difference between legal and illegal marijuana? One comes from the farm, F-A-R-M, and the other one comes from the farm, P-H-A-R-M. No? The state of marijuana laws in the U.S. is in a state of flux. States are pulling back from the war on drugs of the 80s and early 90s and allowing for the medicinal use of marijuana. But the laws are all over the place. So let's start with the high states, and no, I'm not talking about Ohio. But if you do live in Alaska, first, stay warm. And second, you are in weed heaven because you can grow and sell and smoke as much marijuana as you want, except on federal property, which we're going to talk about in a couple minutes. Now, smoking pot at personal use is also legal in California and Colorado, which they call the Mile High City after all, so no surprise there. But it's also legal in Washington, D.C., go figure. That reminds me, I remember while testifying before Congress, President Bill Clinton stated that he experimented with marijuana in college, that he did it in rain and even snow, but he never inhaled. Never inhale. That's not my joke. Also, fully legal by state law for adult personal use, Illinois, Maine, and Massachusetts, maybe no surprise being that they're your more liberal states, and also Illinois, the home of President Obama, who not only inhaled, but said, and I quote, "In my final year, my approval ratings keep going up. The last time I was this high, I was trying to decide on my major." You gotta love Obama. And rounding out the legal states, Nevada, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington, congratulations. If you live in one of those states, puff away. I mean, go away. I meant go away as in you're legal, you're okay, go have fun. The next category of states are those where marijuana remains illegal, as in go to jail illegal. Alabama, Idaho, Kansas, Mississippi, Nebraska, the Carolinas, South Dakota, Tennessee, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. No sale, no possession, go to jail, do not pass go. These states are way too uptight. Relax, Wyoming. Your state animal is the bison. It's very chill. Now, if you're in a state that I have not mentioned yet, your state has either passed some version of medical marijuana law or has decriminalized marijuana to some extent. For example, in Connecticut, possession is a fine of $150. It's a dope law. Sorry, I'm going to stop that now. Also, shout out to our territories, Puerto Rico and Guam. You have medical marijuana laws, but you can still go to jail for possession. So, most states have decriminalized marijuana to some extent, and the power to regulate drugs is in the Constitution squarely within the powers that are reserved by the 10th Amendment to the states. Any power that's not specifically delegated to the federal government is given to the states, and that is construed as laws regulating the health and wellness of the people, which would include medical marijuana laws and marijuana laws. But the federal government is not out of the picture altogether, and this is where it gets confusing. If you are in a state where marijuana is legal, put the bong down for a second and refocus here with me. The Constitution has a little part called the Commerce Clause, which allows the federal government to regulate and control interstate commerce, which is the movement of goods across state lines. Here's how the Commerce Clause got involved in our discussion. Back in 2002, California had recently passed a medical marijuana law, and a lady with a medical marijuana prescription had 6 plants in her house that she used for medicinal purposes. Well, the feds found out and raided her house, which eventually led to a lawsuit really to get the plants back, and eventually an appeal of the raid on the basis that the federal government had no constitutional authority to enforce or for the enforcement of federal laws in California. Eventually, the case made its way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, which held that the federal government did have the constitutional authority to regulate marijuana because under the Commerce Clause, Congress has the power to regulate activities that substantially affect interstate commerce, including the power to regulate purely local activities that are part of an economic class of activities that have a substantial effect on interstate commerce. In other words, allowing medical marijuana in California would affect the price of a bag of weed in Nevada, and therefore the raid was legal under the Commerce Clause. It was really a horrible decision, in my opinion, and was actually the catalyst for Snoop's 2005 hit, Smokin' on My Bud, from the album Doggy Style. Just kidding. In any case, So now we know that since back in 2005, federal laws can and do apply to the states. Under federal law, marijuana is a Schedule I drug, same as cocaine and heroin. So why aren't the feds raiding the medical marijuana stores in Colorado, for example? Well, they actually did, especially between 2005 and 2013. But even back then, during the Bush presidency, enforcement was sporadic and mainly focused on money laundering and other criminal activity. Then President Obama in 2013 issued an executive order, a directive really, that the feds would no longer enforce federal drug laws on a local basis. Unfortunately, that directive was overturned by, guess who? Yep, President Trump rescinded that directive in 2018, so authorities were instructed to enforce federal marijuana restrictions in the states. But even in the last 2 years, enforcement has been sporadic and focused on areas clearly within the federal purview, interstate commerce, banking, and of course, taxes. So the feds will come down on your local dispensary hard if they don't pay their taxes or they're doing something else illegal. But the bottom line is that we live in the areas of legal gray. It's illegal under federal law to buy or sell marijuana, but it's not enforced at the individual level. And you should only probably be nervous if you're transporting across state lines, laundering money through your marijuana business, or in the business of marijuana and not paying federal taxes. Otherwise, you are not likely to get a visit from the feds. And there is your summary of the current state of marijuana law. It's a mess right now, but it's heading in the right direction. So pick up your bong, go back to what you forgot you were just doing, and have a great day.